Hey, welcome back. As we are seeing the events in the last night's presidential election unfolding and coming to an end, it's very clear that President Trump is treading on the lane of victory. And him being the most Bitcoiner, crypto-friendly candidate out of the two, this is really going to set the road to the crypto industry to explode. Particularly for Bitcoin being the king of all crypto assets, digital assets. So let's really delve into what would this actually mean for us, particularly for us Bitcoiners, in the weeks and months to come. A couple of articles I'd like to share with you. As the events, as I said earlier on, are unfolding and the presidential election is, getting more clarity that indeed President Trump will be voted back in the White House. This article says that clearly the crypto has already won the election as Trump rises and the Senate's Sherrod Brown falls. I'll explain who this gentleman is. So Donald Trump's path towards the White House became clearer. The industry had already scored a huge, getting many new allies in Congress and a serious Senate hurdle removed. The crypto sector's need for a friendly US president became less urgent on election night as the Senate shifted towards the Republicans who've promised digital assets legislation. This is actually key, right? And this would certainly underscore the expectation from the crypto industry on his promise that he will actually provide that level of clarity, crypto industry clarity in terms of digital assets, things like setting up digital assets framework for the country, making it clear some laws at a federal level around custodianship of digital assets at an individual citizen level, even though that some of the states have already begun the journey of providing this digital assets clarity. It was always the hurdle at the federal level to simply make this digital assets legislation. So that is very, very good news. With President Trump on the verge of securing enough electoral votes to return to the White House, the industry could also, for the first time, have an outspoken ally in the presidency, a commander-in-chief who calls himself, this is important, the crypto president. Would likely be a boon for the industry, but the gains made earlier on in the election had indeed already positioned digital assets with unprecedented advantage. And if I go on to the first point about the Sherrod Brown, he is the Democrat senator who has always been a top opponent of the cryptocurrency and was always stopping any form of providing, as I said earlier on, that clarity, that desperate clarity around digital assets legislation at the federal level across the country. So this is very good news. This will mean that with President coming in, this person will leave and will bring in a more crypto-friendly person in his place. There's another interesting article that says pretty much the same thing, that Trump's triumph is also cryptos. Gary Gensler, who is the current SEC chair, will most likely be removed from his position and bring in a more crypto-friendly SEC chair instead. From the Republican side, indeed, the regulatory clouds likely to vanish as well. So with all the events that are unfolding around this presidency, it is true that independent which of the two candidates would win, there is that subtle difference. If President Trump does win and is set to win in the next few hours, he's always been, out of the two, the most well outspoken advocate for protecting the crypto industry, digital assets, Bitcoin, more than Kamala Harris, who's always been very backstage, quiet, and hasn't actually said absolutely anything regarding her stance on crypto and digital assets. But here we have President Trump, who is well outspoken, and clearly he's gonna, setting himself as a crypto president, and this is all part of this MAGA, Make America Great Again, amongst many other things that he's going to turn around the country. But even more great, in my opinion, by recognizing for the first time in history to set up digital asset industry in the country to be the top leaders of the crypto capital. That's one of the landmark speeches made in the Bitcoin Nashville conference early this year, that he was going to set United States as the crypto capital of the world. He also made promises and pledges around that he was going to set Bitcoin mining facilities, top-notch Bitcoin mining facilities across the country to mine as many Bitcoins as much as possible. So clearly that's one of the promises made. He also made a mention at the same Bitcoin Nashville conference that he was going to propose to add Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset for the US Treasury, to hold on to Bitcoin, never to sell Bitcoin unless there are certain emergency rationale that would support the need to sell off some of the Bitcoins around paying off part of its multi-trillion debt that they have in the country, to pay off part of the national debt. But that will be pretty much the only exception. So these are some of the promises that President Trump has made at the Bitcoin Nashville conference, and I'd expect him to keep his promise. We are already seeing, as part of his election win speech just a few hours ago, that he's going to stick to his promises that he's made throughout his entire electoral campaign. And the Bitcoin Nashville conference, he's made quite a few of them, right? So I expect that those pledges will come to fruition. So very, very happy. You can see that another great news and another repercussion of this, that even leading up to the last night's conclusion of the electoral count, the results count, and it's still outstanding in a few states, that we have already beaten our all-time high Bitcoin price of 73,500. If I go to my chart here, you can see that we have already reached and beaten effectively this 73,500. You can see the very top line, you can see that the 73,500, which was this previous all-time high back in the middle of March this year, you can see as we have effectively reached a new all-time high of $75,500 per coin, only momentarily, until we've actually retraced back to its previous all-time high of 73,000. But it's clear that we're going to be expecting gradual increases into the six-figure realm, which is in line with many industry analysts and market analysts, that if Trump were to win, we're going to get truly explosive rallies moving forward in the days and weeks to come. And certainly when he officially takes up the role, is going to really set it off to the moon. There's no going back now. We will thankfully break past this sideway action that we've seen for almost 8-9 months. Very boring period. And thankfully, given the news that President Trump is likely to be voted back into the office in the next few hours, as the results come to an end, that this is going to truly moonshoot into the six-figure realm, certainly by January, the latest of next year. And then from then on, it's just a question of gradual increases. There are going to be some volatility, some retracements, but overall, if you look towards this entire 15-year history, you can see that there is that definitive long upward trend growth for the lead digital asset, which is Bitcoin. So in all, very positive news for the Bitcoin holders, as indeed for the crypto assets at large. As I've said in many of the various podcasts, if you don't stack some sats now, in a matter of a few days and weeks, when it reaches the six-figure realm, it's going to be too expensive to buy one Bitcoin. But you can certainly start buying the sats, which are the smaller denominated units of Bitcoin, which is Satoshis. You can buy those up. So I can't emphasize enough. Stack some sats, invest wisely into Bitcoin as much as you can, in line with your risk appetite, and hodl for the long term, which is certainly what I'm doing. Minimum period of 10 years, create that generational wealth goal that I have for my loved ones. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode. If you have, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. And I look forward to see you next time.